MAGA was right, y'all. They said if you voted for Kamala, that gas prices would go up, we'd be in a war with Iran, jobs would be harder to get, the economy would be a mess, and elections would never be the same. Well, I voted for Kamala, and here we are.
Vice President Harris was going to give us $20,000 if we were buying our first house. But you chose the eating the cats and the dogs guy. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. That's who you thought was a better choice. And now we're at war, and everything's more expensive, and that's who you chose. Thank you.
How did we get here? How did we get here?
Kamala Harris was a prophet. Everything that she predicted Donald Trump would do, he has done in less than 18 months. He has started new wars. He has driven up inflation, not just at home, but global inflation as well. He has driven up energy prices. He is spiraling us into the biggest recession that anyone has ever seen since the Great Depression. So tell me, if you voted for Donald Trump, why exactly was it that you could not put the best interest of yourself, your friends, and neighbors above your misogyny and patriarchy?
My hot take for the day is that if Kamala Harris, Miss Coconut Tree, was the president of the United States right now, the collective awakening that's happening right now would not be happening right now. Trump may not be the president America wanted, but Trump is the president that America needed, because Trump is the perfect personification of how America has always been. Democrat, Republican, black with Obama, white with all the other 46 presidents, and that's just my take.
This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact.
Somebody does a bad job, I fire him.
This is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States. Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself.
See, I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy.
I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault.
Kamala Harris had become president. Trump would be in prison. The Strait of Hormuz would be open. Ukraine would be victorious. Gas prices would be lower than $3 a gallon. The United States would be respected and wouldn't be the laughing stock of the world. You know, it's time to get rid of Donald J. Trump. Let's 8647, 8647, and get rid of that criminal in the White House.
America, we know what Donald Trump has in mind. More chaos, more division, and policies that help those at the very top and hurt everyone else. I offer a different path, and I ask for your vote. And here is my pledge to you. I pledge to seek common ground and common sense solutions to make your life better. I am not looking to score political points. I am looking to make progress. I pledge to listen to experts, to those who will be impacted by the decisions I make, and to people who disagree with me. Unlike Donald Trump, I don't believe people who disagree with me are the enemy. He wants to put them in jail. I'll give them a seat at the table. I pledge to you to approach my work with the joy and optimism that comes from making a difference in people's lives And I pledge to be a president for all Americans.
Welcome back to Truth Verdicts, the channel where we break down politics, power, and the headlines shaping the world today. Grab your coffee, sit tight, and let's unpack one of the most controversial political questions dominating America right now. Was Kamala warning America about Donald Trump, or was she predicting the future? Special credit to original Stitches video and commentator whose clip and discussion helped to inspire this documentary analysis.
Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
During election campaign, MAGA supporters repeatedly warned America that if Kamala Harris won, the country will collapse. They claim gas prices will explode, inflation will skyrocket, war will break out, the economy will crash, and America will be unstable. But now, critics are asking a different question. They are saying, did everything Kamala warns about Donald Trump actually happen instead? Tonight, we examine the claim, the warning, and the reality. And as always, on Truth Verdicts, we will let you decide.
He said he will target and punish those who disagree with him or refuse to bend to his will. He calls these Americans the enemy within and says that he would use the American military to go after American citizens. Journalists whose stories he doesn't like. Nonpartisan election officials who refuse to cheat by finding a few extra votes for him. Judges who insist on following the law instead of following him. It is for reasons like these that General Mark Milley, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Donald Trump's top general, has called Trump, and I quote, fascist to the core. We will lower the cost on everything from healthcare to groceries, taking on, for example, the issue of corporate price gouging. I've done it before, and I'm going to do it again.
The word grocery, it's sort of simple word, but it sort of means like everything you eat. The stomach is speaking. It always does.
Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious. Consider what he intends to do if we give him power again. Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers at the Capitol. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy. His explicit intent to deploy our active duty military against our own citizens. Consider the power he will have especially after the United States Supreme Court just ruled that he would be immune from criminal prosecution. Just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails, and how he would use the immense powers of the presidency of the United States, not to improve your life, not to strengthen our national security, but to serve the only client he has ever had, himself. The people who know Donald Trump best, the people who worked with him in the White House, in the Situation Room, in the Oval Office, all Republicans, by the way, who served in his administration, his former chief of staff, his national security advisor, former secretaries of defense, and his vice president have all called him unfit and dangerous. They have said explicitly he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. They have said he should never again serve as president of the United States. We know that is why Mike Pence is not running with him again, why the job was empty. And then today we learned that John Kelly, a 4-star Marine general, who was his longest serving chief of staff, gave an interview recently in the last 2 weeks of this election, talking about how dangerous Donald Trump is. And I think one has to think about, why would someone who served with him, who is not political, a 4-star Marine general, why is he telling the American people now? And frankly, I think of it as he's just putting out a 911 call to the American people. Understand what could happen if Donald Trump were back in the White House.
During the Eat campaign section, conversation and Trump alliance painted a picture black of what America will look like under Kamala Harris. They said gas price will rise, grocery will become unavoidable, energy price will increase, America will enter more foreign conflicts, the economy will collapse, election and democracy will never be the same again. Fear became one of the biggest weapons in the campaign battle. Millions of Americans voted, believing Donald Trump would stabilize the economy, lowering price, restoring strength both at home and abroad. But critics now argue that the opposite happened. Kamala Harris repeatedly warned Americans that Donald Trump would govern through fear, revenge, and division. She argued that Trump will target political opponents, punish critics, attack democratic institutions, favor the wealthy with tax break, push economic policies that could hurt working families, create instability in global markets, increase tension intentionally. At that time, MAGA supporters dismissed this statement as political attack, but now many Americans are revisiting those speeches and asking whether our warnings are more accurate than expected. One of the biggest issues Americans care about is economy. Kamala Harris claimed Trump's economic vision mainly benefits wealthy corporations and rich America, while ordinary citizens struggle with rising costs.
Increase inflation, and by the middle of next year would invite a recession.
Talk about why Trump will not be good for the economy and why we should not be fooled by him, please.
Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the number of people in this country. There's 335 million people in this country. Less than than 4 million people make $400,000 or more. For everybody else, the other 330 million people, Kamala Harris has been very, very specific that your tax rate will stay the same. And for 100 million people, your tax rate will go down. So for just about every single human in this country, she's better from a tax perspective. Number two, Donald Trump said, you guys talked about, has a concept of a plan for healthcare. Well, what's the most terrifying expense that every family faces? You go to the doctor. Medical. You go to the doctor. You don't know what they're going to say. And if you need a prescription, you need healthcare, whatever it is, you're terrified about the cost. You may have you have a high deductible plan or no insurance. Kamala Harris has been very, very specific. She has said the words, I am going after the pharmacy middlemen. Yes. I am going to introduce transparency. I know from my experiences, that's going to cut the direct cost of medications for any family that needs them by 20 or 30% or more. And if she can get any help from Congress at all, the same concept will apply to the rest of healthcare. So while people can talk about inflation over the last 4 years, what they can't say is that the cost of Gatorade is more important than the cost of healthcare. And Kamala Harris is the only candidate that has a specific plan that will cut your cost of medications and then healthcare. Donald Trump has a concept. And then let's talk about tariffs. I mean, let's, God help us, let's pretend that Donald Trump won the election and it's this time next year and we're having to think about Christmas presents for our friends and families and our kids. People don't realize that most of the presents, the sporting goods equipment, the books, the dresses, the shoes, the knickknacks, they're made in China, imported. Donald Trump says he wants to add a 60% tariff to all of those things. So now all of a sudden those prices go up. So you're having a conversation with your spouse saying, okay, where do we cut back? Because all those toys, all those presents we wanted to buy the kids are now more expensive.
Critics today argue that inflation pressure, energy costs, and global uncertainty have increased economic anxiety, not only in America, but worldwide. Some economists warn about slowing growth and recession fear, while supporters of Trump argue global inflation and economic instability were already ongoing problems before returning to power. That debate remains deeply divided, but politically, Kamala's supporters now say she warned America this will happen. Kamala also warned that Trump leadership style could create instability abroad. Critics accuse Trump for escalating tension intentionally, using aggressiveness that could weaken alliance and increase global uncertainty. Supporters, however, argue Trump projects strength and divides enemy through pressure and unpredictable. This division is clear. One side sees strength, the other sees danger, and America remains split right now. Perhaps the most explosive issue involves Trump's rhetoric towards critics and institutes. Kamala warned that Trump will target people who disagree with him and use power against opponents. This concern intensified after Trump referred to certain political opponents as enemy within, a phrase that sparked outrage across political in America. Critics fear that language could encourage political retention and deepen division in America. Supporters argue Trump was referring to corruption and political elites, not ordinary citizens. But the controversy became ever bigger when retired military leader began speaking out. Former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Milley, reportedly made several criticisms of Donald Trump, calling him dangerous and authoritarian in nature. This comment shook many Americans because Mark was once served as Trump top military officer. For critics of Trump, Mark's word validated Kamala's warnings. For Trump supporters, however, the criticism was viewed as political betrayal from establishment within. And again, America remained divided.
There's this conversation going on right now that seems to be huge about leaving the billionaires alone and not taxing the billionaires because they're the ones that hire everybody. Listen to me when I tell you this. You don't even have to be a fucking historian. You could just look at life when you were little compared to now. Life was better for everyone when we had less franchises. Life was better for everyone when there were more mom and pop restaurants and stores. Vice President Kamala Harris was going to give small business owners, I think, a $50,000 tax break. It would have been a game changer in America. It would have rolled back the control that corporations had, aka billionaires had, and it would have given money back into the communities, back into families, where people could literally pass down a business to their kids. Some of the most wealthy, safest, community-oriented communities in America, and I'll give you an example, Santa Barbara, have zoning laws where they don't allow a bunch of franchises, or they only allow a few locations here and there, because the goal of the community is to keep the money circulating in the community versus it being given to a CEO for their third home. Now I want you to think about the communities that are riddled with franchises. Exactly. The more franchise signs you see, the poorer the community. You're Gen X and up. Just think about it. Remember what it was like when you used to drive to go see your family in a different state? The food was different. The seasonal vegetables and fruits were different. The furniture was different. The music was different. The fashion was different. Everything was different because you were supporting local vibes. You should have voted for Vice President Kamala Harris. Point blank period.
Now, the big question being debated online is this. Was Kamala simply campaigning, or was she accurately predicting what will happen under Donald Trump? Supporters say she warned about economic instability. She warned about political retaliation. She warned about division and fear. She warns about politics and policy favoring the wealthy. Critics of Kamala, however, say many of these problems exist before Trump and accuse Democrats of exaggerating fears for political gain. So the real question becomes, are Americans witnessing prophecy or political coincidence? America today feels more divided than ever. Trust in government is low. Political tensions are rising. Economic fear continues growing. And both sides believe the future of the country is at stake. But here is the truth. History will ultimately decide who was right. Until then, the debate continues. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you believe Kamala accurately predict Donald Trump's presidency? Or do you think critics are twisting events for political purpose? Was Trump the solution America hoped for? The warning Kamala tried to give. Drop your thoughts in the comment below. And if you enjoyed the breakdown, don't forget to like this video, share this documentary, and subscribe to Truth Verdict. Turn on post notification so you will never miss another political breakdown. Special credit to the original Stitches video creators and commentary whose clip and discussion help inspire this documentary analysis. This documentary is presented for commentary, education, and public discussion purposes. Truth Verdict, where facts, policy, and power collide. Bye.